so focused on your day-to-day grind, right?
You're so focused, and
yeah.
I sometimes sit in my office and think to myself, you know, okay, in the scheme of things, I'm just one person in one office in one building, you know, on the Gold Coast, and there's a whole other world out there.
Yeah.
But I think you forget that sometimes, and I definitely have. So I think asking actual industry experts and getting advice and actually having the proper knowledge behind you helps so much. But you don't know what you don't know, right?
So welcome today, guys. Here today with Stu McMullen and Madison Leary. I think you guys have a pretty good reputation and a pretty good brand. So let's start off today by, asking what got you attracted? Why did you get in the industry, and what's it like for you today?
What got me into the industry? I've now been in the industry for, maybe just over 15 years. My first ever actual job was assisting housekeeping in a really small management rights that my family had back in the day. So I think I was like 14, 15, and on a Saturday, Sunday morning, my job was to ride the bike 30 minutes down the road, and then I was stripping beds, making beds, and helping the housekeeping team. And
all the glamorous stuff. Right?
All the glamorous stuff. And my family would give me $20 cash at the end of the day, and I would blow it all on lollies and think I was rich. Thank you. So that's where I started in the industry, but I loved doing that because I think, you fast forward to where we are now, and I can quite literally say that I've covered almost every single job role. And I think that gives you like a deep appreciation. So that was my first job in the industry. I did leave and come and leave and go, and had a background in real estate for quite a few years. I lived in Sydney and worked in the corporate world in an operational role. And I think that the skills that I had there have absolutely helped me find success today.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah, right. That's very colourful. I love it. And Stu, tell us a bit about your background.
Thanks for having us sit. Probably about 20 years ago, I was lying at the side of the pool on the property near First Avenue, down here at Broadbeach and Surfers Paradise border there. And my wife and I, a couple of young kids, were lying on the sound lounges, and we'd seen these people running around looking like they were cleaning barbecues and cleaning pool decks, and they just seem to be all over the place. And I thought to myself, have a look at these people. What they're actually doing? What is this? What's this business actually called? And then from there, we found a local newspaper on a Saturday morning, trying to understand what the industry was. We're flicking through papers, wondering what it is that you can buy, what's there to purchase. And we come across a little page, and this is the thing that really attracted me to it was, in them days, there was a little article on the back of the bulletin, the local paper there, where it said, run your own management rights and make 30%.
It's a bit of a journey, right?
It was a journey. So we're talking way back 20 years ago. We started looking at it. Obviously, to get an industry and to buy something in the industry, you've got to have a bit of capital there. And we didn't have that, being mum and dad and a couple of kids. So it was a bit of a journey for us to save the deposits and whatever. So
you're on holidays. You see these people working at a resort, and you go, well, geez, I wouldn't mind maybe making this or looking at this business venture. Well, look, what a journey you've had to date. So I'm always intrigued with people that have been in the industry for such a long time. If they had their time again, would they change anything? Like, if you had your time again, what would you change, or what would you do differently?
A lot.
Yeah.
If I had my time again, there is a lot I would change. I think I wish some times I could go back knowing what I know now. Number one, though, I think would be to educate yourself on an actual strata scheme. I think that was something that coming into it, it can help you so much if you really understand where you land. And I think something that really helped me with that was only probably about 5 years ago. Finally, I got assigned one of the greatest strata managers I've ever had, and they were so happy to share knowledge. And I think it was about at that time I realised that people are really happy to share knowledge and teach you things if you just ask. And I gained so much experience and so much understanding. It almost felt like the lights went on, and for ages I'd been doing this thing, and then all of a sudden I realised what I could do and where I could lead our business, and essentially how we could make more money. So I'm really grateful. I still talk to that strata manager now. They're not strata managers on any of my buildings these days. But I'm forever grateful, because I think that little things like that would have helped me right back at the start. And not had me feel so alone, which I think that this industry can be really isolating sometimes. I think it gets really tough, and I've definitely had.
Because you're so focused on your day-to-day grind,
You're
right?
so focused, and
Yeah.
I sometimes sit in my office and think to myself, you know, okay, in the scheme of things, I'm just one person in one office in one building, you know, on the Gold Coast, and there's a whole other world out there.
Yeah.
But I think you forget that sometimes, and I definitely have. So I think asking actual industry experts and getting advice and actually having the proper knowledge behind you helps so much. But you don't know what you don't know, right?
100%. And we had a chat off camera before, and you were mentioning the backgrounds of people, and coming into the industry, and those that have the most effect from a legal background or from some sort of personal background. You've got to be a people person, right, to be in this industry. And I think if you don't like talking to people and you don't like doing set duties and chores, maybe there's other careers out there for you. But Stu,
what I wish I had known now, looking back, say up to maybe 8-10 years ago, is my very first building I bought as a mum and dad business, and I wore all the caps. She wore all the caps, and you probably.
I think that's an important foundation, Stu. That's to do all those.
It is. However, it then means too that you become the cleaner, the handyman, the guy who's counting the linen, the guy who's taking up the rooms, the guy who's stripping the rooms. I could go on. You become all them guys or persons to do all them tasks. And it wasn't until probably a few years ago that I realised that when I sold out of that business, I had a really good going business, but I sold it because I was tired. So that's the first mistake I made.
But not tired, not burnt out though.
I was tired, not burnt out.
Yeah.
I made a lot of money in 22 months, and I paid at that time the 3-to-1 rule, so we paid the two and went and walked, and still took a bit of money, so semi-retired about 45. Went back into industry, but it wasn't until about 8 years ago when I bought the place down here at Broadbeach Surfers there where I realised that the better journey for me was with partners. And at that time, my head was in two spaces, because growing up as a young kid, you hear your parents say, if you go into business, most people get told, go to school, get a good job, good education, get married, have a couple of kids, and then if you're going to do something, you do it yourself, and retire dead broke. Well, that's the path I was on. That's the path we're all on, all of us. Anyway, I was presented with a sort of partnership proposal when I bought the business along the road here, and jumped in at 50-50, and away we went, and haven't turned back since. So the people who've got less capital, once they get in the industry, they need to surround themselves and find that little niche lawyer, broker, banker, manager group, whatever, to support them and to get some knowledge in the industry, attend the functions, and all them sort of things, get involved and learn a bit of the industry. But ultimately, I wish I'd known more about partnerships before I started.
I think you've mentioned a number of key points there, and it's good for the audience probably to understand too your experience between you both. I lost count. I thought it was about 30 properties between you both. You've had some sort of experience and exposure to over your years, but the foundations and the day-to-day operations of a management rights, you've had that trench, coalface opportunity and experience. So that's a key to success, right? Is starting at the bottom, knowing what makes the industry work, what makes your asset tick and value. It's only going to have a positive impact and reflection on where you are today. So everything I can sort of say has come from experience, has come from working with and understanding you guys, your stories. So how do you see the industry now? Do you see it differently to when you first started? Has it evolved, or is it plateauing? What's your take on the industry?
We used to have some things a lot easier than what we have now. I think that the idea of top-ups and body corporate committees and having majority of the letting pools were almost a given a while ago. I think that they were a lot easier to control, and people got more savvy. I mean, times got tough, and people want to know that they have managers in the building that are actually working for what they feel the body corporate salary, and I do feel as though it's changed. I think it's harder these days. I think you have to prove yourself for body corporate top-ups. I mean, there was, 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't put much preparation into it at all. You would throw it in at the EGM and, great, we're renewed and it's happy days. That's definitely not been my experience in probably the last 5 years. I think every top-up that we've ever gone for, we've earned it, and we've really put in, the sweat equity to try and get those things. Even, managing people's units and things like that. Owners want to know that they're with you is actually the best financial investment.
Let's add a bit of value onto that too. you've been in the industry for a long time. You've been through the top-up process as an example. What are some of the key things that you've had success with, or you think needs to be achieved in order to get that top-up approved? It's not just a given these days.
100%.
No.
And I'm very meticulous when it comes
Yeah.
to this. I don't like to leave anything to chance. I think it would be an absolute embarrassment to go for a top-up and not get it.
Yeah.
So you're never going to see me doing that. I wouldn't
Yeah.
do it until I thought 100% of people are voting with me.
Yeah.
So to give you some insight into how I do it, in my office, I run every single owner's name on the board, and it's 3 different colours. Everybody I know that's with me is going for a green,
Yeah.
and I work the numbers out. I know who's voting.
Yeah.
However, I don't do those things straight away. I go in there and listen. I think that there can be a lot that you can learn from listening. My first meeting when coming into a new building is to sit down with the body corporate committee and not say too much.
Yeah.
Tell me what you didn't like about the last guys. Tell me what the problem was. Tell me what you want to see.
Yeah.
And I think where people do go wrong, and I myself have gone wrong with this in the past, is I come in having a preconceived notion of how it should be. You know, well, my agreements don't say that I need to be here at this hour, and my agreements don't say that I need to do this. I feel as though if you take away a lot of the ego in the situation and you just listen, these are just people at the end of the day, to what they really want.
That's it.
And just deliver on that.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
And make them feel like you're working with them. I mean, there's a lot of things I do for my committee that is well over and above.
Yeah.
But then when I need something, it works both
Correct.
ways. It's like life,
Yeah.
right?
I think it's also important too that just because you've got a caretaking and letting agreement, you've got a business to operate, there's also a lot of grey and 1%ers that you're in a strata, you're in a community environment. You've got to give back to the community in some way and not expect to get paid for it, you know?
I mean, I ask myself this question so often, and I've done it every time I've ever come up with an issue where I genuinely don't know what to do. If I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I actually don't know where to go with this, I just say to myself, what is best for the scheme? And I ask myself that one question, and genuinely what that answer is going to lead you on the right path to doing the right thing for everything to like nicely fall into place.
Stu, the key to happiness for a committee or a strata?
All right, I think what we need to put out to the marketplace now is the people who come into this industry have to understand that the committees of the day are volunteers.
Yeah.
Right? They do it on their time. They don't really want to micromanage a manager. They just want the manager to do what they need to do in their agreement.
Yeah.
And a little bit extra we would normally do to show good faith. In relation to the top-up, I think if you go in with that sort of attitude of recognising the volunteers, don't bombard with emails when you don't have to have it. Don't send it to the whole committee, just send it to your first point of contact. Just limit the communication so it's just concise and accurate, and then get one person to respond, and it's a bit clearer for making decisions on the run or over a long period of time on projects that might be upcoming or maintenance that's needing resolved or repaired and maintained. So I think the committees got to be, you've got to understand that the committees are volunteers.
Yeah.
And they're doing it after hours, sometimes after working 40, 50 hours a week themselves.
Yeah.
They don't need some of the day-to-day stuff that some of the managers do take them and say, this is not a job and I'm not doing it. Well, if you don't do it, who's going to organise it to be done? So just organise it, be done, tell them it's done, and then go back and say, I've had this done.
Yeah.
It's not my job.
Yep.
Not in them type of words, but this is not within my roles or my boundaries. I've got to organise, but in future we need to plan this. Can we set some on the agenda for the next meeting, have a chat, but I resolved it today for you.
Okay.
So there's little things you need to do. I think another thing you need to do is, and I do it every building I go to, is I take the caretaking agreement and I map it on a spreadsheet. Daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, 5-yearly, 10-yearly. There's things that run in your building up to 20 years, lift changeovers. Although we're not responsible for managing a 20-year plan for the board of corporate, if you can pencil when the lifts were last done, or the lift ropes were last done, or the retrofit was last done, you can pencil in 20 years later it's going to be needing to be spoken about. So for me, I've got a 10 to 15-year plan on every single thing that's in my agreements, and then I've checked this off that. My background is manufacturing, so I actually brought a lot of policies and procedures to our businesses and implemented them, so it's more structured in relation to the day-to-day operations. And if you just follow that check sheet and make sure your staff's following their check sheets, you're ticking and balancing and auditing what they're doing, the whole place should run seamless. So I think a little bit is managing the building and not so much cleaning the building. So the bigger you go, the easier it is. Like I said, when you're done here wearing all the caps, you don't have time to put that structure into place. Then you get a bit tired of burnout, whatever you want to call it, and then you end up selling and going.
I think your roles today from when you started are very much evolved and different, right? But your day-to-day sort of operational, what you do from the moment you arrive at work to the moment you finish, it's changed, but the fundamentals and the foundations are still there. You're managing staff, you're making sure contractors are coming in, signing in, doing what they need to do. Talk us through, you're both in the holiday short term predominantly at the moment, but you've both had experience in long term and accommodation, student access, all that kind of stuff. Talk us through your day-to-day operations and what your day looks like at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So my main focus at the moment is our largest building in Surfers Paradise. We've got 205 rooms there, predominantly all holiday. That's a busy building. That's like 35-ish staff, and there's a lot going on. So my day every day does look very different, but I try to keep some things the same, which is after I've checked my emails and there's nothing that is dire straits, it's catching up with all heads of department just to know where things are at. And that varies. That could be guest complaints, owner issues that they're questioning. There's a range of things that could be. But essentially what I've learned over time is I wasn't great at wearing all the hats. I did feel the burnout. I tried to do all the hats. I was YouTubing maintenance things, and it was actually ridiculous.
YouTubing wasn't there when I was started.
Yeah, you need.
Well, you mentioned papers before. Who reads a paper these days?
You learn how to do a lot of things. But I did feel the burnout, and it was actually a big goal of mine in 2024 to identify what staff needed to come in before I was swamped. And I think that's like a real skill, knowing what you need and getting them trained and ready just before it actually takes off and gets busier. I mean, in January just gone now, we did our biggest month, our most successful month that we've ever had across any building that we've ever owned.
Fantastic.
So part of that as well gives great confidence in the Gold Coast market and tourism, that if you are doing the right things and you're ready and you're ahead of the curve in terms of rates and where they're sitting, that you can perform really well. But I guess day to day, to answer your question, it does change, but my biggest goal every day is I really care about my team, and I think that if they're happy and they feel like they have everything that they need from me to do their jobs, then I need to learn to trust them.
And that's evident, Maddi. Every time I see you, you've got a big glowing smile and you're radiant, so it's a credit to you. But I think the key there also is that you surround yourself with the right people that if you don't have the answer, they will. They'll be able to buddy up and help you through it.
My only skill in life. But if I don't know how to do it, I know somebody who does know how to do it.
There you go. And what about you? What's your role look like at the moment, Stu?
Well, I'm actually tapering off and heading into semi-retirement, believe it or not. So my role's actually
more passive, or
mentally and physically changing. So but my role on a day-to-day basis is probably a bit different to Maddi's, because the way I've structured our businesses is I've bought into partnerships all along the way. So my day-to-day is basically running one little building down in Burleigh. It's got 60 units in the building. It's got 40 odd in the holiday pool. And I just cruise along doing my stuff that I've got to do according to my agreements, like I stated earlier. And then the rest of my day is looking for businesses to buy. So talking to people like you, having a coffee with someone like you, other agents in the industry. We're involved in motels, so we buy motels and leases. So we talking to other type of agents. Obviously, Raz does 360 as well with hotels, motels, caravan parks. So looked at caravan parks, haven't got my head around it yet. Maybe the next project. I don't know, but I sort of tend to buy into motel leases, freeholds, ongoing concerns, and freeholds and management rights. And the reason I've done that is I find that across my portfolio I've got a diverse portfolio. So when holiday's down, motels are up. So we've sort of built it up so that we get that passive income from each building. So my long-term goal was to have 10 properties and then a passive income of X. We've succeeded that, and they're heading towards 20. So the income there is going to be double the amount as 10 is, and all for the passive. So when I retire, we just keep the assets there, and we just got to click along the way. And saying that too, talking about a little bit of partnerships, which I'm really strong and passionate about, is that my preference with a partner in our business is to have a partner with skin in the game that's managing the property.
Agreed.
Preferably on site. I'm talking like if I'm in for 20%, and somebody else is in for 20%, and they're in for 20%, and we're all maybe industry experts or knowledgeable within the industry. It could be Maddi, me, and another investor that's been in the industry before. We go and buy a building and hope that he come along with 40% deposit, same as ours with 2020.
Yeah.
By doing that, they've got more skin in the game than us.
Yeah.
It makes him, I think, at the end of the month when they take the nice big check and pop it in the bank there, that they're working for themselves and not really working for us. But they also understand too along the way that with people like us in the industry supporting their goal. Yeah. And my goal is to get other people younger into the industry nowadays. And then as they get in, I get a click and I get another business over there sitting paying you 10%, 20%, 15%, whatever you bought in at. Yeah. And these people don't think that they're actually working for us. Yeah, right?
Perfect. If we look at someone entering the industry for the first time, not only is it's a niche market that it's very, so you almost have to have like a gateway to get into the industry. You have to know someone or be a part of it, because you don't really sort of open the newspaper or look online and see the property values of management rights in your face. You know, residential is a little bit different, commercial is a little bit different, but overall management rights is a its own little space, right? Give someone a bit of a guidance or a rocky road to the industry for their first 12 months. What can they expect if they buy their small, mum and dad kind of operation? What can they expect in their first 12 months?
I think they expect a lot of anxiety. One. If they've done a bit of homework and they've got, if they've attended some of the functions and the promotions that go on in the industry, then I think they start to understand the path they've got to follow. Some people don't understand, that you've got to go and find a building too before you can go and buy it. Yeah. There's a lot out there. Some people have 2 kids, somebody has 1 kid, somebody has no kids. Yeah. So for me, when I bought my very first management rights, I had to have at least 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. Yeah. So we found one in Currumbin years ago, and we bought a place down there in Currumbin, had 3 bedrooms because it fitted the family. Yeah. I'm a believer that if the apartment's not right for the manager, the business won't work. Okay. Just won't work because there's not enough space for this kid, there's not enough space for that kid, and why do we buy this? The money's good, but the property's not working, and juggled into this little box. And I think we've got to get the family situation right if you bring a partner in, and then find the business that suits that, and then go from there. Yeah.
Your story wouldn't be too dissimilar to that in terms of someone coming in for the industry. First 12 months.
I mean, somebody coming in doesn't necessarily have to go and live on site straight away. I think that can be like quite a big, daunting, overwhelming experience, depending on what else they're going to be doing in their day-to-day. For me, though, coming into the industry, I have like a really strong real estate background. So I think that helped a lot because, leasing, contracts, Form 6s, those sorts of legalities was second nature. Yeah. I think a background like that is really helpful. I think it depends what sort of manager or what sort of role you want to go into though, because you could have, I've seen ex-builders come in, they're, incredibly skilled, great maintenance, so they want to go more into this direction. And that's where I think the husband and wife combo can work really well. Yeah. But again,
it's quite a unique thing in management, right?
It is, and it's whether or not, my partner definitely couldn't work with me. Or
vice versa, maybe. Yeah.
But I just think it depends on what you want. And essentially, the bigger the building, the more options that you have. Yeah. So I guess it depends on how much capital. But again, in saying that, there is great operators who are of an older generation who just have money they want to put into them. Yeah. They do exist. They are out there. It doesn't take much to find them if you go to a couple of networking events. Yeah. And they're dying for keen people who want to have an actual crack. We've certainly found ourselves in situations before where buildings have come up and they're not where we live. So, we're all based on the Gold Coast now. But they're such a good deal that we've gone, God, let's try and see if we know somebody up there. And what we do, which is very unconventional, but give them a portion of it from the get-go. Yeah. And when they prove themselves, they've got skin in the game, and they're going to stay.
Yeah. I think the proof is in the pudding. We've had other guests on the Brokers Boardroom before, and the key to this is having a clear definition of your role and your role and your role, and basically knowing each other's roles collectively to make that a success, right? So,
100%.
Yeah, because you don't want sort of a silent investor coming and telling you how to be an operational day-to-day manager, right?
Totally. So. And I guess on the real estate thing, this is something that I have found really successful, and it doesn't work for every model. We do things very unconventionally. However, I go in looking for buildings and looking where I can section things off and lower my real estate. Yeah. We've successfully done it 3 times now where we've gone in, okay, right, that could actually be cut into 2. We could do X, Y, Z. And again, one of my favourite things to do is meet with the committee pre-settlement. When you're getting very serious about the fact that you want to buy this business, I want to sit down with these people and recognise and understand, are they the type of people that we can work with.
And that's pre-contract or after you sign a contract?
After we've signed a contract, and I normally always do, sorry to all the brokers, they hate it, but I condition one sit-down meeting with the committee.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing to, if there is something to hide, great, I can address it now, and I already know what my problem is coming into it.
Guys, what's the secret sauce? What's the secret to keeping and maintaining a healthy letting pool and keeping the profits continuously going in the right direction? Give us some of the trade secrets.
Find a good real estate agent who's selling them.
Right.
This is my number one thing that I really care about. You know, we've got 205 units. That's a lot of turnover just because people's circumstances are changing. And I think partnering with somebody who understands the scheme, understands that you want to keep investors in that building is incredibly helpful. I mean, it's whether or not you're losing letting and money's going out the door or not. And so I found it great over the years. I just find people who have excellent contacts. At the moment in our surface one, I work with a guy who has a lot of contacts in Sydney or Melbourne for investors, and they're wanting something here. And it's great. It means that I can retain them. Helps a lot. You know, we do it at the one in Bar City as well. I think you can't control everything, but encouraging owners to use people who've got great results and they're likely to give it back to you. Makes a difference.
Fantastic. And Stu, you'd have a few sources there. You'd have in your success stories. What's the key to keeping a healthy letting pool?
For keeping it would be communication with your owners, open and transparent. I think providing the service that you're charging for. Would also be, again, I agree with Maddi, find an agent who would like to work your building and work it in a manner that you see fit for both parties. I mean, a real estate agent, he's got to sell the property to obviously feed the family, and we understand that. But at the same time, there's multitude of people out there that are investors that are just looking for investments, and we're in the investment game. So, you know, if an investor comes along, send them our way, we'll take them on. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, if you get a good agent, there's chalk and cheese on the difference of your performance of your own business. And another thing, I've actually got my real estate license as well, obviously, full license. So you can sell within your business, but for me, it's not my core business. Right. So for me, it's keep away the agents from my buildings that I might not necessarily understand them. Let's put it that way. That's not a bad word. Understand them. And the ones I do understand, give them the need to make it work.
We hear it all the time, protecting letting pool. So Arama and I think a few of the other consultants out there in the world, they work hard with educating operators to use, or not protect their building, but make sure that it's in the right hands of the right agent but understand management rights and how intimate it is. And it's an environment that you rely on, right? So you want to have that right person there.
And there's a difference to it when you say about losing units at your rental pool, because some units actually sell and you lose it or you keep it, and the other ones is that you might lose a unit from your holiday pool, say because you're not performing. And they go to another agent. I mean, so a lot of that's preventable, but in-house. So it's understanding, what you're delivering to the owners, checking with them, hey, is everything all right? You want to get an email in again saying, hey, thanks for good returns, first month, blah, 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 blah. So at the end of the day, you've got to be working with your owners, and then obviously painting a picture to all the other agents you don't really want in your building that this is not a place for you.
Now, I'm very much a results-driven kind of person, and I tend to learn from mistakes. Give us an idea of one of the biggest mistakes you guys have made in the role.
I couldn't tell you my biggest because it's so embarrassing. I refuse.
This is just between us, right? Forget about the cameras now.
I've made heaps. But you're right. You learn from your mistakes. I mean, little things from wrong hire. A wrong hire can cost you a lot. Been there, done that, especially wrong hire on site. Not a nice spot to land yourself in. But God, I wish I could go back and undo some of the things that I've done over the years. But just little things that I've always been really good at is just careful what you put in writing. Put in writing things that you actually want to surface and come back up again. Don't lie to owners. They're smart. They're savvy. Have the hard.
They all talk as well.
They all chit chat. Have the hard convo. Tell the truth. Just don't lie. I'm really big, and my biggest thing is one rule for everybody.
Yeah.
Owners do chat, like you said, and nobody's getting a discount. Everybody for me is the exact same.
Yeah.
I reward good behaviour,
Yeah.
absolutely. I have made it a real point with my staff that nasty owners, scary owners, the ones that demand this and that, they do not get special treatment. We don't operate like that.
Mm-hmm.
We like good behaviour, and everybody gets treated the exact same.
Yeah.
And I think doing that, you're not going to, have two of them in the lift going, oh, well, I, bullied them essentially and got X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
So that's been things where I've seen other managers get themselves into all sorts.
Yeah.
And I've always really tried to steer clear of.
Yeah, right. I'm assuming you've made no mistakes at all in your
Surely
time.
none.
No, you've pretty clean slate.
When someone gone back to like the expenses that you might charge the owner and things like that, a couple of things you've got to point out is if someone comes to you and says, you charge me too much for this and you charge me too much for that, and the guy down the road only charges this, and what you have to say to them is, which part of this service don't you want to pay for?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't drop either. I'm with Maddi. You're in an industry, you're in a business. You're actually running a business.
Yeah.
You're not here just to be throwing the loose ends around to anybody who comes into the office and thinks your office is there for them. It's actually there for yourself, in most cases, to drive your business and not to be harassed or bullied. So at the end of the day, it is what it is.
I think you are in a people game, so there are times where you have to give it a time to the community for the sake of the community, and it's a very unique environment. Not too many people live where they work.
No, it's tough gig. I don't do it these days, but I have well and truly been there, done that, and it's tough. It's hard.
I ask all my guests on the couch this same question. Give us 3 tips for someone entering the industry. 3 tips that they could fundamentally use and grow from based on your wisdom and your experience.
I would say surround yourself, or go and find yourself a good lawyer, a good broker. Don't worry about the banker. The broker will look after that. But certainly a good lawyer, good broker. Get into some of these functions and nights outs, and there are some community groups out there, like we have one down at Burley where there's about 15, 20 managers rock up once a month and have a dinner, social gathering, just make sure each other's safe in a safe space. Obviously, it's quite a demanding industry, and it does take its toll on some people, so just keep checking and balancing there that your mates are all right. Yeah. But there's a lot of people like myself. I get multiple phone calls. People ask me, can I have a coffee? And to be honest with you, I don't mind having a coffee. Yeah. Most times I'll shout too, by the way. Yeah. Believe it or not. Yeah. I'm a Scotsman as well. But I really feel passionate about the industry. Yeah. So I'm not scared to talk dollars, cents, how much I borrow, how much I get returns on any of my projects. Yeah. Obviously not naming the projects, but it certainly can instill a lot of the values that some of these people need to make some conscientious decisions on maybe whether they come into the industry or they don't come into the industry. Yeah. Like I see some managers come into the industry and they're hell-bent on paying down their debt on their own property and their own business. And I'm thinking, well, I don't want to do that. I want to keep the business running and grow, and then whatever money I'm making from that, I'll go and plunk it in another business and make that grow. So I'm actually outside of my business building other businesses. So I don't get their logic, but they probably don't want my risk. Sure. I see my risk as calculating. They don't understand that maybe. I don't know. Yeah. So that's some of the things that I would put back to the people coming into history would be mainly focusing around the groups and getting as much as this as I can. Yeah. And not be scared to go up to the function and ask people for a business card and start sorting out which law you actually can work with, or you get that 30-second. I'm not too sure of this guy, but I'll take his car and I'll take this guy because he's really friendly and he's talking my language. Yeah. It does make a big difference when you're sitting down at the table discussing a project worth $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7 million. Yeah. So I think, Maddi, you mentioned before, you can get a bit isolated in this industry, and if you don't, there's going to be times where you need to lean on someone, and vice versa. And having a coffee and sharing those 6 stories is therapy, really.
It does. It definitely helps, and I think on that, anybody coming into the industry, what I would say is be prepared to work, and my advice would be work hard at the start. Yeah. Work really, really hard at the start. It pays dividends in the end. Yeah. Just put in the effort. And I think as well, something I liked to do and do like to do when we go into a new building is every day can seem incredibly overwhelming when you come into a building, but don't lose sight of the key objectives. And at the end of the day, we all do things because we want to make money.
Yeah.
So for me, and as an example, coming into a building, I already know how many in the letting pool, how many not in the letting pool, and I see so many people go, oh, I'm going to grow the letting pool. Well, what are you doing about that? What are you actually doing? And I used to make it a non-negotiable 3 new owners every single day, call them, and make notes of where I'm at with them, understand what are they doing with their unit, how can I actually possibly get that back. And I think where people go wrong is sometimes in management rights we do get bogged down in the day-to-day and this is what my agreement says and yada, yada, yada. But I think you need to have a really clear plan and always need an exit plan.
Yeah.
You don't want to get stuck with a bomb, especially if you buy big, which again, I never do because I always buy the disasters. But have an exit plan. Every time you go into something, how are you actually going to get out of this? You know, we bought a building that had 4.5 years left on the letting agreements.
Yeah.
Nobody else is looking at it. And I think if you back yourself, the universe rewards sometimes, you know, the people who are willing to go all in and try something different. But I think stay accountable. Do schedule things in your diary that are non-negotiable, and it will happen. I mean, we had a building where majority were not in the letting pool, and over a 12-month period, I won back over 100 lettings. I didn't do that by sitting there going, I want to grow the letting pool. I did it by picking up the phone and actively telling them how I was going to do it. And I think that helps. The other thing I think helps is, and I mean this nicely, but if there's a committee and you genuinely do not get along with them, use a bit of strategic thinking. Is there other owners that are around all the time that would be an excellent fit? And I'm a big communicator. Every month for every building, they get a newsletter on everything that's happened that that month, and take photos, send them pictures. A lot of these people live away and they don't know what's going on. How do they know you're working for your check?
That's it.
They come in once and you go, I got some new floor, and they think, well, we paid for it. And so I share the crazy things that happen, the funny things that happen, the staff, you know, how long the staff are there, and make them feel like they're part of that journey. But I think in doing that, I use it as well to steer the message of the building where I want it to go. And whether that's, hey, we've got an EGM coming up, great new owner, Sid, he really wants to join, he's desperate, he's got great experience. Great, you know what? All of them read it because I can see that they read it. And then when it comes around to nominating, although I've spoken to everybody, a lot of them are going, oh, she said Sid's awesome. Sid gets on. Look, I get along with Sid way better than the other person. And, you know, we're moving the building in the way that it needs to go for success. Because without body corporate managers, strata, all on the same page, making like a happy triangle, the building's not going to succeed.
No, that's it.
And you see it all the time, and it's sad. It's really sad.
Well, I've certainly taken away a lot from hearing your voices today and understanding a bit about what makes you tick. It's evident that you're both go-getters, you're both hard workers, you both surround yourself with the right people, and probably that's part and parcel of being successful is having those things work in your favour when you need them. So, guys, I just wanted to say thank you for joining me today. Your insight has been invaluable, and no doubt people listening today will get some value from it. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Stu.
Mark.
Thank you. Thanks, Maddi.
Thank you.